All day. Welcome, everyone. It is now 1:30, and I will call the Redevelopment Commission to order. First on our agenda is not even listed. So, and that's my fault, Rhonda, for not getting this to you. But by legislative act, the president and the vice president shall not have the same appointing authority, which we have a problem because Jan and I are both council appointees. These officers shall perform the duties usually pertaining to their offices and shall serve from the date of their election until their successors are elected and qualified. All day. Welcome, everyone. It is now 1:30, and I will call the Redevelopment Commission to order. First on our agenda is not even listed. So, and that's my fault, Rhonda, for not getting this to you.
Thank you.
But by legislative act, the president and the vice president shall not have the same appointing authority, which we have a problem because Jan and I are both council. These officers shall perform the duties usually pertaining to their offices and shall serve from the date of their election until their successors are elected and qualified. All day. Welcome, everyone. It is now 1:30, and I will call the Redevelopment Commission
I thought about what I was
to order. First on our agenda is not even listed. So, and that's my fault, Rhonda, for not getting this to you.
Thank you.
We good? Okay, so basically at this point in time, the decision will have to be made whether myself or Jan step down from an officer position, stay on the Redevelopment Commission, and then choose a commissioner appointee for the vice president or president role. Now, the commissioner appointees are Dan, Doug, and Mike. And in talking with Jan, I think, you okay? That's okay. I think what we have, we're going to put before you for a vote, with someone will make the motion, that I will remain as president. Doug Haynes has agreed to step up as vice president, which creates an opening for secretary, which Dan Thystrup has agreed to accept. Jan will remain on the commission, very valuable commission member, thank you, and Mike will be on the commission. But that will take care of the legality. This was effective July 1st. So I would entertain a motion if you're in agreement with that.
Do we have any limitations as far as abstention? I mean, I don't want to make a motion on my own behalf.
I'll make the motion.
There you go. Second?
And we can second or vote accordingly.
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favor of the new officers so that we are complying with this legislative change authored by Representative Craig Snow, would be president. I will remain. Doug will be vice president. Dan will be secretary. Our treasurer will remain the auditor as per the legislation. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Oh, I thought somebody was opposing us. Call-ins are not welcome. No, decent.
They're not.
Okay, and then Jan, you had asked me, that's the copy of the legislation. If you want to read through, the bolded paragraph is what's the important part that we just enacted. Okay, thank you all very much for that. I appreciate it, and Jan, I appreciate your serving as vice president. This was something we didn't see coming, so.
Yes.
All right, so next up, we need to look at the minutes from the meeting of Thursday, May 11th, 2023. And I would entertain a motion to approve those.
I'd like a motion to approve the prior meeting minutes as presented.
Okay, I need a second.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, discussion of claims. Do we have claims? Yay. I'm like, where are our claims?
So you had asked earlier
Yes.
about legal bills that should have been paid. And we researched that and came to a conclusion that we will move $2,000 into each different TIF. Actually, $333.33 will
Thank
be
you.
moved into each TIF. We'll do an adjustment on that claim.
Okay, so what has happened is that the attorney retainer
Yes.
fee was paid by Edit. Thank you, but it is our expense and we do budget for it. So we are going to move that expense back into
Yes.
and take it out of the TIF funds.
Yes.
Okay. And then we're going to, and it doesn't have to be prior to, but we're going to be given a copy of any redevelopment
Yes,
commission
going forward.
expenses moving forward so that we can, as a commission, vote on those. And I know that it's been very gracious of Marcia and the commissioners to pay the Edit, that we did not have any kind of a spending plan or had allowed for in our approved budget through the council. But we will at least be able to see those. And hopefully communication as to what is being done and what charges have been incurred that we were expecting.
Yes.
So we'll try to communicate that better to you so that you know. But we really appreciate you paying all our bills.
Okay,
Want you to know.
thank you.
Okay, all right. So thank you, and thank you for all your help with researching that, and thank your department for researching that and getting that straightened out for us. Okay, now, Alan, you're up.
Good afternoon.
Good
Pleased to be with
afternoon.
you. So the KEDCO update today, I have a very specific update about an area for the commission to work in and investigate. So I don't have it committed to memory, but somewhere in the last year and a half to 2 years ago, the commission members agreed to assign individual commissioners to work on investigating specific TIF areas for further development opportunities. I know we identified, I believe it was US 30 West, 15, State Road 15 between Leesburg and Warsaw, and 1300 North as the three. I think those are right? The three?
South Shore was included in Etna Green
And
Housing
then-
also.
And then we've since added TIF areas in South Shore and Etna Green. And so what I have for you today is actually now a proposal to open a project to do some investigation, some planning around the 1300 North corridor. Now, why this corridor? This is a significant area for us, a gateway into the community. It's an area that already is represented by TIF districts that are in place. It connects really from growth areas in Syracuse to Milford. And it's a place the county is already investing significantly in the County Road 1300 North overpass and a potential proposed repaving project in that area. And so just a lot of great pieces to work with, a lot of great investment to build on. And what we don't have yet, though, is really a roadmap of, if you look at that area, I'd estimate it's somewhere around 1,000 acres, what kinds of investment, what kinds of development, which properties might be more attractive for development than others, what kind of utilities are available or could be extended from any of the existing providers, and also then working adjacent to redevelopment commissions in Syracuse and Milford. So there's a lot of opportunity there. There's also a lot there, I think, to manage. And so that's where I'm bringing to you two different proposals to consider for how we might go about either creating, you could call it a small area plan, you could call it area development strategy, you could call it a concept plan, but something that the commission can then use to help guide us working together between KEDCO and the Redevelopment Commission to promote additional development. This is a longer-term project, but it helps give us a roadmap to get started. And so happy to help with any questions about the plan. I guess I am bringing those to you today for discussion. If there's of interest of, having a group that would interview the two different providers, if there's an interest of setting aside some dollars to put towards something like this, but happy to help navigate, and we can provide some of the project management. I think the important thing, though, is here to find the right partner to work with. These are two firms I know have been active in the county, are very familiar with these specific areas of the county, and so I'd feel very confident working with either of them. I'll pause for questions, but also Commissioner Groninger's here as well, if there's anything he'd like to add.
Yeah, I just wanted to come today when I heard this was on the, on the agenda, just to throw me as a commissioner support behind this 1300 North corridor, just because it is something that the commissioners have already invested heavily in that area between the overpass and the repavement project. And we have a very large employer there that wants to expand in future years. So I think anything we can do to help kind of set the table for what might happen in that area is going to be helpful for the future. So just wanted to.
If you could, I don't know if you both want to get there. Sorry. We have Steve Moriarty virtually, who I had asked if he would join us for this. Basically, the repaving part, is that going to be a grant? Is that going to come out of MVH? I'm just curious.
Right, well, if you remember, we allocated 1.88 million of ARPA funds.
Okay.
And then there's another $1 million that's going to come out of his MVH fund. We were going to try and do some community crossing dollars there, but found out that ARPA couldn't be used as a match for community crossing, so it wasn't going to work out. And Steve, obviously, pipe up, correct me if I'm wrong, but I know we had some discussion about that. So I think he's going to do some other projects with his community crossing money that then frees up MVH money that can be used to finish. It's a shell game.
It is a shell game, it is.
But at the end of the day, you know, we're making about a $2.88 million estimated cost for resurfacing 1300 North between Milford and Syracuse, on top of, you know, I think it's I think it come in a little less than that. Originally, it's like a $9.6 million overpass over the railroad tracks and a new interchange then, or new intersection at State Road 15, which, you know, that's in progress. If you guys have been north, see this big ramp that kind of jumped the railroad tracks at this point. But we are making those investments in that area, so we really see that as a good opportunity with that rail access along there to really be a good industrial corridor.
Okay. And
See Steve, come on.
One thing that I will add is that also including the 1300 North, you know, we're resurfacing, but we're also improving the safety of 300 East at that intersection. So part of that
Right.
2.88 million also includes the safety concerns at 300 East as well. So.
And that involves school buses, am I correct in my memory there? And so Wawasee School or Milford
Yes.
School? Okay,
So the original plan was, you know, with the 1300 North overpass to get that connection, but also at the same point, be able for the schools, they don't have to stop and go over the train tracks in town. Well, as we get more traffic coming on 1300 North, we wanted to have more safety visibility for that intersection as well for the school buses going to Wawasee.
I appreciate that. Okay, and I mean, this may be really premature, but do we have any idea what we're looking at down the road for this? I mean, have we conceptualized anything, or is this, I'm just curious.
No, I mean, I think that's really an open slate at this point. I mean, that's what, you know, this consultant would do, would help us try to plan out what we feel is going to be best used for that property along that corridor. I do think that, you know, we have a very large employer at the east end of that, you know, would like to expand. So I think, you know, having some key property owners and stakeholders along that route, you know, as part of the process is probably going to help steer it towards what they might see or what their needs might be in the future, I think is going to be key.
Okay, and Jan, you served on that. Okay, if you wanted to add anything, or,
So the two that set proposals, Alan and I both spoke to, between the, do you want to put an opinion between the two, or?
sure. This is just open discussion.
Right.
I don't.
Okay, good.
I don't think we're going to make any decisions right now.
No, that's fine.
Because there's a lot to absorb and think through, and I think maybe our next meeting we would be better situated and hopefully a little more knowledgeable
Right.
about
And
some of this.
they are willing to come to, also to be interviewed, but the USI seems to be more of kind of what we thought we might be looking for. It's a shorter period of time. It's only 120 days. Some of the things that the other one provided are a little more extensive than what we need. We just need help understanding what's the highest and best use and what will help the employers in that area that are existing as well.
So just basically potential,
Right.
give us options.
Rather
And
than just plopping something down. And, I mean, it's like, who do you seek out if
Right,
you
yeah,
don't
and
know?
I think they would also probably be looking with with the community, kind of an anchor point at each end of this corridor, what those different communities are, what their capacity is, sewer, water, that would need to be extended into those areas to make sure there's capacity on that end to be able to accept any waste or any water usage that might be created by future development there. So I mean, I think that there's a lot of things that happen. I know USI is also doing several of things in that area already, so. we're
Yeah,
familiar
they
with the
have.
area.
And Carrie, as a developer, I think aren't developers that are, or site selectors are looking for that information when you
Yeah,
put
the more
forward-
risk you can take off the table as far as that what the big game changers are, what utilities might cost to extend to the property, even some of the soil types or zoning changes, or in this case, maybe access to the rail, all those types of things, having that homework done so you have a table set for the developer to come in and remove that risk off of their table, it makes it a lot more desirable for somebody to want to move forward with a project, because all that takes time. I mean, we're talking about, 120 days or something. I could see it stretching out longer than that. It just, everything takes time. So when you have a potential client that is in a rush, everybody's in a hurry, they want to make a return on their investment as quickly as possible. So the more roadblocks you can have removed and prepared for them, the more appetizing it is for them to want to move in.
Okay. Questions?
Carrie, have you had any experience with either one of these companies?
I think we've used both of them. I think currently USI, I know they're working with you, right, Dan, up at North
Yes.
Webster. I know USI has done multiple bridges for the county. But I know the other firm is also reputable. I mean, they're both reputable firms. I mean, but I think that USI is probably a little more familiar with that area up there just because they've already been doing some work. Seems like they've done some work with Syracuse as well.
Yes, and actually it was Syracuse that told me, go to those guys because they know what they're doing.
And I know Steve's used them on several things too, right?
They actually designed when we first, probably about 8 years ago, when we started putting in the 1300 North overpass, they were the original design, and it's the design that they had that Michael Baker and Associates took off with. They didn't change it from what it was, so they're very familiar with that area.
Okay. That, I think, speaks very favorably, that they didn't even change their design. Okay. Any other questions?
You mentioned the time frame. USI was a little bit tighter than, or shorter.
Yeah, if you look at the bottom of that proposal.
Yeah, Alan, do you want to,
Yeah, and so I tried to list out just as a side-by-side, the different
Oh, okay.
timelines. But then, where I pulled that from each, I mean, they have it listed different ways. The other proposal, the out-of-march proposal has actually the tasks listed in a table. And if you just, I extrapolated from the bottom of the table going from August of '23 to April '24 timeline. So, I think both firms would be willing to adjust the scopes of work, the exact, deliverables to meet our objectives. But I know they're both interested, certainly work in the county, have worked in the county, and came very highly recommended.
And I don't think that either, like Alan said, I mean, I think there's two good choices there, and I think that they're willing to work with whatever we want. And I don't think that this is like path critical or critical path type decision that, we need to have this plan done by the end of the year because we got somebody who wants to come in there. But that's exactly what we don't want to happen. We want to be prepared for that. So when the opportunity's there, we've got something to show versus, well, we thought about this, but, we actually would have a design or, some sort of a layout of what that might look like, so.
Okay, and this may sound like a really silly question, but we're not capable of figuring that out. I don't know.
There's a lot more to it. I mean, just how you interact with the different municipalities and trying to understand where, your drainage, where this water is going to go, as far as stormwater. There's more to it than just, this would be okay. I mean, there's more to it than that. I mean, it's substantial. And we want to make sure that it's a design that's buildable, not something that looks good on a piece of paper, but really couldn't be designed or built efficiently or cost effectively.
I really appreciate you taking the time to come. I know how busy you are and how busy you are, how busy we all are, but I do appreciate your input on this. I had thought about reaching out to you, it just time,
No problem.
yeah, just got away from me till I saw you today and went, oh, yay. Okay, any other questions,
So the
comments?
thought would be, we would invite both to meet, to discuss things further, or what would be the next step in this process?
Suppose we, if there's a two-member group that would like to, some kind of interview team, could meet with them offline, come back with a recommendation. I don't know if it's even, if you'd have, a couple of commission members, highway director, commissioner, KEDCO representative, but at least have some discussions with both, and ideally come back with a recommendation, be able to move forward.
Yeah, my comment would be, not knowing that we've had previous dealings with USI as a county, if we're looking for creative ideas and whatnot, what they presented, while they are more expensive and their scope might be larger, which might be the reason for the additional costs, optics, this firm does a much nicer job of presenting, and so I would like the opportunity for the commission to be able to discuss with them and then see if we can maybe resize their scope to see if we can get apples to apples. But I thought that this was a blanket agreement when I first saw it. I didn't even realize that it was their proposal. So not to put too much weight on that, but yeah, I'd be interested in
Our
discussing.
next, okay, our next meeting is scheduled for, I lost my agenda.
Would we create an
Thank
ad
you.
hoc or join?
I would like to see everybody on the Redevelopment Commission the opportunity to hear from both of them. I think that would be wise, so maybe in September, I don't know, Carrie, if you're going to be around.
Well, we could,
Yeah,
oh, you're talking about having them come here rather than.
or
just-
virtually.
Oh, virtually, yeah,
The one firm is located in Goshen. I mean, they're not
yeah.
far away.
And me working with USI, I've never had any problems with them coming to talk to us.
Okay.
They've always been extremely accommodating to do
I mean,
what
I
we
think
ask.
this is very important, because I think this is going to set the groundwork for what's going to happen out there. And like you said, it has to be viable, it has to be doable. And I think it's more important, I mean, I think we need the commissioners on board, or a commissioner representative on board. And I think we need the Redevelopment Commission to hear this. I think area plan would be good to have in this meeting. Trying to think of who else would be, Steve. The nightmare of getting things there and
Would it-
allowing them to leave.
Would it be problematic? I don't like the idea of waiting 2 months would it be problematic to have particularly if we're going to be inviting other groups, but I would rather see this happen in August if that were possible, rather than wait till September.
All right, so now we all get to check our calendars. So if it was the second Thursday, it would be August 10th. I don't have a conflict that week. What do your calendars look
You
like?
said August 10th?
Yeah, Adam? Yay.
I'm probably okay.
Carrie, Alan?
Check my other calendar here.
Nope, it's okay. I have a work one I'm not going to check, just for that reason. Okay, so we'll have a special called meeting on August the 10th. And Rhonda, if you can advertise that for us. That would be helpful. Yes. Marcia's?
Alan, do you have any recommendation as to the time allotted for this discussion? And is it going to pose any kind of conflict to have them both here?
If we do it virtually, they don't have to be here.
Thinking 15 to 20 minutes per firm, plus some Q&A, so maybe an hour total.
Okay, okay.
And so our purpose would be to hear the proposals and then possible discussion following
Yeah.
releasing them. So they're not here for the discussion.
Would it make sense, though, if we already know that they're not necessarily apples to apples because one is half the time and maybe not as large of a scope, and that's maybe more of what we're looking for, would it make sense to inform, I don't even know how to pronounce the
Aubin Marsh,
Aubin Marsh?
that's my guess.
Would you be able to communicate with them that, okay,
Okay.
it is available?
I hope you're not asking me.
Then-
Do you want- Are you asking me?
No.
You're asking Alan?
Yes, Alan would be communicating, just to give them an opportunity to maybe tighten theirs up a little bit so that we have more of a apples to apples. So do we need a motion for this, or we just need to schedule?
Yes, we do. If we're going to have a special meeting, we need a motion.
So I'll make a motion that we have a special redevelopment commission meeting held on August the 10th at our normally scheduled time at 1:30 for an hour, and invite the two parties that will be presenting their proposed plan for the development of the 1300 corridor
Virtually.
virtually.
I just think it would be much cleaner virtually because you can stop one and move to the other. Yes, Steve? Are you holding your hand up?
Yeah, so normally, like in a situation like this, if the federal funds are involved, then you have to do what they call an RFP. An RFP is you have a scope of work that comes down to so that they make sure that all clients and anybody that puts an LOI in, which is a letter of interest, has the same recommendations. I think in this situation, we wouldn't have to have an LOI, you wouldn't have to have an RFP, but since you're going to have both of them come in, I think you put just a short scope in together, time frame, and kind of what you're wanting from them, and then hopefully then that way you can compare apples to apples.
Yeah.
And I would be willing to help Alan with that, to kind of show him what we've done for bridges and other road projects, so it kind of gives you your scope.
And Adam, do you need to be in on that? Okay, I'm just asking. Okay, all right. So Steve, thank you for that offer. Appreciate it. So Alan, offer of help. Okay, all right. So then hopefully we can get them both to be very similar. So they're a little more easier to, yeah, evaluate. That's a good word. Okay. All right, so we have a motion for a special meeting on August the 10th at 1:30 here, and the room is available. Thank you, Marcia and Rhonda, for checking that. I need a second.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay.
So the only other piece of discussion, then you mentioned some other departments or offices that we might like to invite. So who's responsible for those invitations?
I can do it. I mean, I'll stop at Area Plan on my way out and ask if they can be here. We already have Carrie.
Carrie
who's
already has his
gonna-
invite.
Yes.
Was there anybody else?
Marcia, you can be here?
Okay,
Okay.
all right, good. So then we're just the planning department.
Yeah, I think Area Plan, I can't think of anybody else, the surveyor, I don't know. Carrie would,
Yeah, this is just a conceptual, so it's not.
Yeah,
okay, I just would like Area Plan in on it.
They'll be part of the process once we make a selection of contractor.
yeah, I mean, unless they had input, I mean, I think it might be beneficial to make the invitation to them if they can attend, great, if not, but, yeah,
Okay,
I would like that.
okay, I will invite Area Plan. And then we'll go from there, how's that?
Great.
Okay, thank you all very much for your input on that. Next, which is probably really good that we're dividing this, sorry, it's probably really good that we're dividing this out, but at our next, well, before December 1st, we will need to come up with a spending plan. It's part of the new legislation that passed, so we will need to seriously consider what we will spend TIF dollars on for 2024. So homework for all of us is to actually spend some time looking at the cash balances in TIF. And we'll have, Rhonda, could your department please send out a revised cash balance once those transfers are made? That would be helpful. Yeah. Okay. The fall collection's the 10th of November, right? Okay. 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 If you could send them out once the adjustment for the legal fees are made, because you approximate, and we can always adapt, but I would rather have more time to look at it and think about it than less. So if we could have those, once those adjustments are made, I think that would be beneficial to all of us. And so any of them that are owed a bond bank, that those dollars are not to be considered, because that money is going to help offset some of that bond expense. So that means that we're really down to 5 right now. We will have a new TIF has been created, but there is no dollars coming into that TIF because there is nothing so far. We're a ways away from having anything taxable on that property. But we will be having another TIF, South Shore Villages, that will be added to the list with a $0 balance. Okay, have I missed any other TIFs? Yes, Etna Green. That's not, is that our, yes, that's our TIF. It's not our TIF. Look at, I have a yes and a no. Okay, wait. Yeah, they didn't have a redevelopment commission, but it is Etna Green Town that's doing it, so it's really not our.
Yeah, but the problem, I think, is the new House bill is that it's set by, the spending plan is supposed to be set by the Redevelopment Commission and submitted to the DLGF and, in county executive and some other stuff too. So I guess I haven't looked at it yet, but I would presume that you're gonna be probably responsible for setting that spending plan for that green one as well, since they don't have that, since you are serving in that capacity as their RDC.
And Doug, didn't you volunteer last meeting too?
Yeah, well, I was going to say, Alan's already sat down, but I would love for Alan to speak to if there's been any developments on Etna Green. And then also, we did have a meeting with South Shore.
Yes, we did.
And Adam wasn't able to attend, and you'd asked if we could bring you up to speed following that. I didn't provide him anything. I don't know if you did. So I was wondering, Alan, since you were
We can.
there, if you could just give a quick update to the commission as well as Adam. Yeah, well, is it
Sure.
okay?
Absolutely.
Going out of order, but
Nope, we're fine.
sat down too quick.
No, great question. So we are working actively with the town of Etna Green on the housing development, as well as with South Shore Ventures on the South Shore Village development. The RFPs for both projects are out to developers for consideration. We are working with the town of Etna Green to determine what the phasing looks like for that. Responses should be in very soon for that one. We did have a pre-submittal meeting with South Shore 2 days ago, and that one, responses are due by the end of the month. So different scale projects. One's a not quite 20-acre site, the other is 115 acres thereabout. So, there are a number of things to work through as far as infrastructure, phasing, just the mix of housing. And so it's taking because both of the projects are in new areas and new for development. We're working actively to be, reach out to developers to find what kind of questions they have, get their interest in the projects. But again, within the next 30 days, we should have a very good sense of both of them, how they're going to move forward.
So with South Shore Ventures, the takeaway was that we were asking Jeff and Nate to get quotes on what it would cost to put the road through the project, because they've got interested parties, developers and whatnot, but not until the road's in. And so I haven't heard anything back. I don't know if you have.
Yeah, part of the pre-submittal meeting, we had both Andy Mauser from Baker Tilly share the TIF projections, and Harrigan Williams, I believe, from Fenton Brown share some projections on the hard infrastructure costs and site developments. I mean, I think the point was just to show within a rough order of magnitude that the projected TIF would support the development costs. I don't have the exact figures with me, but that was all shared out at the meeting.
Okay, and then otherwise, I mean, it was basically, one of the main purposes of the meeting was to get everyone at the table. So that was very beneficial, that we heard from lots of different people in different situations and got to see all of the players.
Why don't you, would it make sense to indicate who was there?
Sure, we can do that. Terry was there from Kedco, and Alan, and
Brad Jackson,
was the commissioner rep because,
Kim Carnes,
Kim, no.
Kim,
No, now you made me, I forgot her last name, this is awful.
Cates.
Kate's, thank you.
So
You
sorry.
said Carnes, and
Can
I'm
you
like,
scratch that, please?
who is Kim Carnes? Yeah, can we rewind? Kim Cates was there as a Kedco / council rep. I was there, you were there. Dan was not able to attend, and Adam was not able, and Jan was not able, Mike was not able. I'm trying to think of who else was there. Both, of course, the South Shore representatives. Is that it?
Yeah, Nate wasn't there, but Jeff.
Yeah, Nate was supposedly on his way the whole meeting and never got there before we left. So, yeah, he had some meeting run over. Okay, so it was a beneficial meeting, and it was good to have everybody in the same room. And the only real result was that we asked them to get costs. And then the request for proposals were in the process then. So, moving forward.
Were you at the pre-submittal meeting?
I did attend.
How was that attended?
It was a mix of in-person and virtual, so a little bit difficult to tell how many people exactly, but I know there were at least somewhere around 4 to 5 developers involved one way or another. There are multiple kinds of housing proposed there, so finding the right mix of developers to fit in for different pieces of the housing and the right order with how that should develop out.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay, all right, so, thank you, Alan. All right. Are we still under IC 36-7-25-8 in light of the new legislature? No. Does that have a number? We're now 36-7-14-8. In the past, we have had to present on each TIF district. And this is replacing that. Yeah, so I mean, we now have to come up with a spending plan for 2024 by December 1st.
Okay.
Whereas in the past, we had to talk about the revenues collected within each allocation area, which we are, I believe, on target with the list provided of all of the cash balances. And then long-term plan, the long-term plan will now become a spending plan. And talking about the impact of each allocation area on overlapping taxing units. Which I think we've done a fairly respectable job of keeping the schools and the overlapping tax districts hopefully aware of what we're doing. So do you see any reason that we need to go through these one by one, Adam? Looking for guidance.
I think you're fine. If I decide otherwise, I'll let you know for next meeting.
I love that answer. That's a wonderful answer. Okay. All right, so. Okay. So at this point, what I think we should do is spend some time individually on our own, looking at the TIF cash balances. And Steve, I hope you're still there.
I am.
Okay, if you have an opportunity, I sent you over these. If you have an opportunity to look and see if any of these parallel projects that you're already working on, that we could possibly at least consider.
I have a little bit. There's some that, of course, you covered the 1300 North already.
Okay,
But the other one is in the co-op TIF down south and on near Mentone, 600 south from 1,000 to 900 west. That one we're planning and doing in 2024 to improve that pavement. And then we also have down 700 west from State Road 25, Burkett Road, or I guess as they call it, down to from State Road 25 down to 700 south to try to get that route to the co-op plant. And we have that down for 2025, 26. Other things that we have down so far, if I can find my sheet, I'm sorry. Was looking on the old 30 corridor. You know, we've had and been in the old 30. We chip and sealed it a little bit in 2021. We're planning on improving with the community crossings and start going across there and to get that, put that as we pave it section by section like we've done Old 30 East. So those are the only ones in TIF that I saw at this time that we have projects currently going or oncoming very shortly.
okay, on the old 30, paving it section by section, is that a 2024 or 2025?
For the old 30, that would be broke up into 2025 through 26.
Okay, that's very helpful, thank you. I just thought it might be beneficial to at least know if there were other projects ongoing that we could partner with in light of creating another. Okay, thanks, Steve.
No, thank you for having me and at least throwing in my input of projects that could be impacted by the TIF.
Yeah, there's never enough tax dollars, we all know that. So, okay. But as a taxpayer, we know there are enough tax dollars, right? Should I say the other side of that coin? Okay, all right. So does anybody have anything else? I mean, do you want to discuss? Is there any further business that we need to talk about?
Well, I was just going to say, since Carrie's here, I know I really appreciate you weighing in on the 1,300, but are there other strategic projects that the commissioners are considering or that would want us to be aware of or supporting?
Well, I guess, that 1300 North is definitely a major one that, we're already making substantial investments in. But, one that the commissioners just approved, I think comes in front of the council tonight. Alan's requesting some additional funds to do some studies that are going to have to do with pretty much parking downtown for the county here, encompassing some other things with some other event center and possible hotels, some other things downtown they're talking about. But the main thing I'd say is the other's going to be how we're going to handle, we're looking at partnering with the state on what's called an IDD, so it's an Innovation Development District. And that would happen west of town, especially with LSC currently closing and being, property being sold. I know we're looking at how is this an opportunity for us to incorporate that into kind of a little bit of a reboot on the west side of town, because all that is in the county jurisdiction currently. But, so I mean, I think those are some key areas that we're really looking at. Just kind of throwing along with that would be just, we're continuing on with our Parks and Rec Board and just how we might have that connectivity between our communities with bike trails and walking trails. I know we've got a joint meeting coming up August 1st with the council, ARPA, and commissioners to talk about selecting those HELP projects and which ones of those will move forward. So there's a lot going on in the county. I mean, with OrthoWorks and what they're doing, they're looking, they're trying to hire a consultant as well to try and help them vision out and how we can make the best use and really leverage those monies that we were given by the state and hopefully get, multiple match to that, what was given to us. So I think all these things that we're trying to do, whether it's 1300 North, whether it's this area west of Warsaw that we're looking to study, all those are things we need to be able to set that table and know what the possibilities are to really help us then identify, once we see what the possibilities are, identifying the projects we really want to see move forward. So.
You said that Alan's going to be presenting a potential request for the study for the downtown, potential parking and performing arts.
Yes.
Whatnot. So yesterday at the Tourism Commission.
Yep, they were in and gave some money to that. The commissioners approved it at our meeting last week. It goes to the council tonight for their consideration. And then that monies would be, and it's monies that we have, the commissioners, in the commissioner's budget set aside for KEDCO projects, so.
Yeah, okay, because the chamber's also going to be contributing.
I think Main Street as well, and the city of Warsaw.
I'm thinking even the foundation. So I just want to make sure that we didn't have two dueling.
No, it's a pretty big ask, it's a pretty comprehensive study.
Yes.
So, but we're trying to really get all the players that could be positively affected by it, taking part, so.
So I guess the question that I'd have for you is, the studies can be really costly. I think the latest figure I heard for the downtown was 100,000. I think it started at 60, but it's now ballooned to 100,000. And then, of course, what we're talking about, 1300 North, are the commissioners supportive of, I mean, I have to assume that the answer is yes, but supportive of us spending dollars or approving dollars, at least through the Redevelopment Commission?
Well, obviously, I can only speak for one commissioner,
Correct.
But I know that, all three commissioners unanimously approved the study for the IDD or that area west of Warsaw. So I think that that's definitely a problem. I think all the commissioners will agree from a long-term parking solution, the county needs to continue to look at that. I mean, we're going to do some short-term solutions with the existing parking lot there at the Justice Building currently, but we know long-term we need to look at something greater. And what is that? Is that a parking garage? And, if that can partner with other development, I think that there's some resources that can be joined together and make a bigger difference. I think we'd definitely be interested in that. The 1300 North, I think, commissioners have continued to support the funds that are going into that area. So, I mean, this is what's actually going to give us an ROI on the investment we've been making. So I think the three things we've described, even though I don't know that we've necessarily, in all cases, voted specifically on what you're asking, but we're approving projects that are all the steps to make those things happen, so.
And you said it, that, we want to be proactive.
Not reactive.
We want the feasibility studies done before potential developers come to us. But as we're even looking at plans for the TIF dollars that we have, is that something that we should be considering in some of those plans?
Correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm going to rely on Michelle here, but the Redevelopment Commission operates independently, but just as a communication and just as a courtesy, we let the commissioners know. But once our budget is approved and those TIF dollars, I believe that it's the commission's.
I think other than and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think any contract, though, that you would enter into, I think the commissioners would still have to
Right, we can't sign
approve.
well, I don't know. Can we sign contracts?
You can buy property,
Yeah, we can buy property.
yeah.
We have lots of power we don't use, just, I mean, honestly.
Yeah.
And we've tried really hard, I think, to keep everyone apprised of what we're doing.
Oh, no, I think we're all on the same page of what we're trying to do. You know, I see that this board's becoming more active, which I just think right now there are so many opportunities out there for our community, and that's great. And how can we leverage, the financial strength of our county and the opportunities that we have in our community to really set us apart from our neighboring communities? Not that I wish any of our neighboring communities or counties ill, but I just think we have a kind of a crown jewel here in Kosciuszko County, and I just want to make sure we're putting it on display for all to see and be able to maximize it as much as possible.
Okay. Did you change your mind about anything? That's
I
it.
wanted to make sure that, your
Is Carrie done?
yeah, let's go back to this after.
Okay.
Thank you, Carrie. Appreciate that. That's helpful.
Wait a minute, is Carrie done? You were the one questioning.
I know, so I wanted to release him to sit down again if we're gonna go to Adam.
I hope you're very kind in your reporting. That's all I can say.
This section you brought today, I wanted to confirm the actual section that requires the annual informative presentation, as the statute calls it, make sure that hadn't been updated. That has not changed, so this has nothing to do
With
the
that.
annual
Okay,
presentation.
so-
So you need to still go through
Okay.
your list there as the auditor's got, as Ron has laid out for us. Yeah.
Okay.
I can understand how the two kind of seem like,
They're-
this kind of seems, well, if we're having to come up with a spending plan, then why are we doing this? But this is, the purpose of this annual meeting is more about informing the overlapping taxing districts with regard to those 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
What is the, rough budget, it's funny they use budget here. What are the long-term, plans, and then, kind of who are the overlapping taxing districts that are impacted?
Okay.
Microphone.
You don't have a microphone? Oh.
Dan and I will share.
Okay. Okay, so in light of that, let's start with Van Buren TIF, which you should have a map.
It's not labeled.
It's not labeled.
The Van Buren, that says Kosciuszko County Redevelopment.
Yep.
That's for Van Buren. They should be in order as far as on the agenda, the maps.
Okay, Van Buren has Old State Road 15, 900 North, Harper Road. Okay. So Van Buren, according to the cash sheet, has $285,659.08 prior to adjustment. We'll do these one at a time. Okay, the long-term plan was to let the balance grow for future use. And then we will be legislated to come up with a spending plan for that. But that shouldn't change this at this time. And the impact of the allocation areas on the overlapping taxing unit would be future improvements, and within the TIF is Van Buren. Taxing entities are the County Solid Waste District, Van Buren Township, Wawasee Schools, and the Milford Library. Okay. Anybody have any comments on that one?
I don't think it's really changed.
No, but we have to publicly declare that, I guess. Okay.
It's not a lot of money, so.
No. Okay, the next one up would be the co-op, which the co-op is 900 West, 1000 West, 800 West Davis Road, which then runs into Broadway Street, Burkett. And this one has $262,848.89.
No,
No.
What am I on? I'm on co-op.
485. $485,312.60.
Oh, well, it's growing nicely. Okay, sorry, cash is 485,312.68. And that one was business growth and housing opportunities. Interesting. Mentone has decided to take on that housing part of that. I think they're going to have a fairly nice development from what it appears so far. So on that one, do we want to change our long-term plan? Steve did indicate that he was looking to do something with the road in 2024. I think that's within that TIF district. 600 south from 1,000 to 900 west, which is right in the middle of, or on the edge of that TIF district. So that could be considered, improving the roads.
Add that to the,
We're going to take housing out or leave it in?
I would leave it in.
Okay. Okay. We're just nodding heads now. We're not voting or anything.
Yeah.
Just one way or the other. Yes, okay. All right, and the impact on the overlapping taxing units, $140,000 growth. And does it say what those are? I think this one is actually, is Burkett Incorporated? Does anybody know? I don't know.
It is not, or you don't know.
So this is entirely county. Thanks. Getting answers from Carrie, he's telling me, no, it's not. Okay, very good. All right, next up.
County maintains all the roads and everything else inside of the city limits.
Yeah, I didn't think it was, but thought I should at least ask that question. Okay. Next up, let's look at True Point. The True,
And the agenda order would be Leesburg.
okay, we can look at Leesburg. Leesburg, which has a cash balance of $168,873.72. And Leesburg takes in the city of Leesburg and up to Levi Lee Road on the south and 400 north. Kind of makes a jog and then runs along Old State Road 15, 150 west, 600 north, 675 north, and School Street. All right, talked about cash value. Next, long-term plan, examine and create a vision for the current TIF area, including expansion possibilities. And I know at one time there was a discussion on some property on Levi Lee Road, which I don't know, it must be within the TIF already that we were talking about, north of Levi Lee Road. Okay. So do we have any other?
Well, I know when Mike and I met up there with Alan and
Yes.
Frank Levinson, one of the issues, again, is just we have sewer connectivity, but there's no water. And so that, I don't know if we want to include looking at connecting some of the utilities or infrastructure, rather, to Leesburg in that TIF. I'm assuming housing is our primary, but
So utilities to Leesburg. You said there is sewer, but there is no water.
would you confirm that, Carrie?
Yeah, there's a force main, it's a force main, there's sewer all the way along the west side of take Road 15 down to Levi Lee Road, that goes to Grafton, down to the lift station, right there in front of, Old Racket Club.
Okay.
When is the countywide water study going to be completed? I think I've asked that before, but I forget.
We just had some discussion about that this morning, I mean, we're still working through that, I think it's a little ways out before it's gonna be complete, but Westler and Associates working on that.
Is that still at 2023 or 2024?
I mean, Alan's the one that's had more interaction with them, I would say it's probably 2024.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a suggestion to add utilities. We could put including expansion possibilities, including utilities to Leesburg.
Fine with me.
Okay. All right, and the impact of the allocating area on the overlapping taxing units. It's $50, I don't think, or 50,000. And this is Plain Township within the TIF, along with the county solid waste district and Warsaw schools. Okay, last but not least, the TIF for True Point. It says that we did not have a budget. Okay, the reason that we don't is because they owe on a bond, so those dollars aren't really up for discussion at this time.
Right.
Until that bond is paid off, and they're under 500,000, so that's good. And they're continuing to pay that amount, and so there is no impact due to the debt of the bond. And the taxing units within are Franklin and Seward, and the taxing entities, again, County Solid Waste District, Franklin Township, Seward Township, and Tippy Valley Schools. And we also have, which is not included on there, we have Dreyfus, which Dreyfus also has a bond, and their bond is over 1.8 million. So those dollars are not allocated to anything, trying to cover the cost of that bond. And then, as I spoke earlier, South Shore Development has $0 because they have, at this point, 0 property that's taxable to create.
There's no
Dollars.
increment to capture at this point.
Thank you. No increment to capture at this point. That sounds much better than what I said. So we will keep an eye on that and include that every year for our open discussion. However, no decisions need to be made on that. So with that, do I have any comments? Can I get a motion to approve our open presentation?
Overlapping taxing.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
I'll second.
Although, yes, now it's time for comments. No,
On Van Buren, what did you have listed for possibility there for those dollars? Because I know that we just recently pulled, I think, $600,000 out of there to do.
You did.
The overpass.
you did.
And I know that we have the $2.88 million that we're gonna spend on the resurfacing of 1300 North, but just trying to help Steve's budget out, which I know that, that bucket keeps reoccurring. I know there's not a lot of money in there currently, but just,
There's 285,000,
so.
according
just-
to our cash sheet.
Just if you include infrastructure or road infrastructure, that might be another opportunity that could be, help fund some of that stuff there. I forgot what you guys said in that one.
We just said balance grow for future use, so we can change that to, if we amend that to say.
Infrastructure.
Infrastructure possibilities.
And we've already done it once with Van Buren, we can do it again.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Okay, so we now have, do you amend your motion to include that change?
I'll amend my motion to close the open discussion, to amend the Van Buren scope to include infrastructure.
And Jan?
Second.
Okay. All right, all those, any other comments, discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you, Carrie. Okay. All right, now, do we have anything else to come before the Redevelopment Commission or anything else we need to discuss? Marcia? Okay. Nice to have our treasurer here and our chief deputy auditor. I know I have to remember the deputy part. Chief Deputy Auditor and Commissioner Groninger. Thank you so much for joining us. And Steve, thank you for your patience and for joining us. And if you want to,
Thank you for having me.
you can join us on August 10th too. And September 11th, and. All right, so do I have a motion to adjourn? Oh. Thank you. Second?
Second?
All those in favor signify by leaving.
Aye.